Social Justice Part 1. In this essay, Social Justice Part 1, we will be learning about the different concepts of justice and its relevance in the society and how it can lead to equality amongst the different sections of society. Justice is a concept involving the fair, moral and impartial treatment of all persons. In its most general sense, it means according the individuals what they actually deserve or merit, or are in some sense entitled to. Justice is a particularly foundational concept within most systems of law. From the perspective of pragmatism, it is a name for a fair result. The concept of justice is based on numerous fields and many differing viewpoints and perspectives, including the concepts of moral correctness based on ethics, rationality, law, religion, equity, and fairness. Often the general discussion of justice is divided into the realm of social justice as found in philosophy, theology and religion, and procedural justice as found in the study and application of the law. The concept of justice differs in every culture. An early theory of justice was set out by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato in his work The Republic. Plato contended that justice is the quality of soul, in virtue of which men set aside the irrational desire to taste every pleasure and to get a selfish satisfaction out of every object, and accommodated themselves to the discharge of a single function for the general benefit. The theorists before Plato argued that an unjust is superior to a just in character and intelligence. Injustice is a source of strength. Injustice brings happiness. Socrates attacked these points of the theorists. He argued that justice implies superior character and intelligence, while injustice means deficiency in both respects. Therefore, just men are superior in character and intelligence and are more effective in action. As injustice implies ignorance, stupidity, and badness, it cannot be superior in character and intelligence. A just man is wiser because he acknowledges the principle of limit. Socrates clarified that we need to understand clearly what justice means in order to figure out why it is important to be just. He explained that justice does not only mean doing good to our friends and harm to our enemies or pursuing our own interests. Justice involves the well-being of all people. Plato in The Republic treats justice as an overarching virtue of individuals and of societies, meaning that almost every issue he would regard as ethical comes under the notion of justice. But in modern usages, justice covers only part of individual morality, and we don't readily think of someone as unjust if they lie or neglect their children. Other epithets more readily spring to mind. What individual justice most naturally refers to are moral issues having to do with goods or property. It is, we say, unjust for someone to steal from people or not to give them what he owes them. It is also unjust if someone called upon to distribute something good or bad or both. Equal treatment for equals. An equality principle is a philosophical, moral and legal doctrine asserting that all human beings are equal and that they ought to be treated equally under the law. Now let us discuss how people should be treated equally under the law. Equality of treatment. According to this view, similarly situated people should be treated equally. For instance, all people who commit the same crime under the same circumstances should be punished in the same way. Differences in treatment should arise only from differences in the circumstances surrounding the crime. Equality of opportunity. Under this view, individuals should be given equal opportunity to succeed. People should not be discriminated against on grounds of class, caste, race or gender. They should be judged on the basis of their work and actions and not on the basis of the group to which they belong. Thus, society is obliged to equalize differences in opportunities. For instance, social position, family wealth, innate intelligence, etc. Therefore, if two persons from different castes perform the same kind of work, whether it be breaking stones or delivering pizzas, they should receive the same kind of reward. Equality of welfare. Under this view, advanced by people such as Marx, individuals should be given an equal degree of welfare as per his abilities and needs. Thus, those with great abilities and fewer needs are obliged to support those with few abilities and great needs. Proportionate justice. Most people would agree that although people should get the same reward for the same work, it would be fair and just to reward different kinds of work differently if we take into account factors such as the effort required, the skills required, the possible dangers involved in that work, and so on. If we use these criteria, we may find that certain kinds of workers in our society are not paid a wage which takes such factors sufficiently into account. Proportionality is a general principle in law which covers several special although related concepts. The concept of proportionality is used as a criterion of fairness and justice in statutory interpretation processes, especially in constitutional law, as a logical method intended to assist in discerning the correct balance between the restriction imposed by a corrective measure and the severity of the nature of the prohibited act. For justice in society, the principle of equal treatment needs to be balanced with the principle of proportionality. Just distribution. Distributive justice concerns the nature of a socially just allocation of goods in a society. A society in which incidental inequalities in outcome do not arise would be considered a society guided by the principles of distributive justice. The concept includes the available quantities of goods, the process by which goods are to be distributed, and the resulting allocation of the goods to the members of the society. Distributive justice is concerned with the fair allocation of resources among diverse members of a community. Fair allocation typically takes into account the total amount of goods to be distributed, the distributing procedure, and the pattern of distribution that results from it. Armstrong defines distributive justice as the ways that the benefits and burdens of our lives are shared between members of a society or community. Principles of distributive justice tells us how these benefits and burdens ought to be shared or distributed. Because societies have a limited amount of wealth and resources, the question of how those benefits ought to be distributed frequently arises. The common answer is that public assets should be distributed in a reasonable manner so that each individual receives a fair share. In our country, for instance, the Constitution abolished the practice of untouchability to promote social equality and ensure that people belonging to lower castes have access to temples, jobs, and basic necessities like water. Different state governments have also taken some measures to redistribute important resources like land in a fairer manner by instituting land reforms. So how the distribution can be made? Various principles might determine of how goods can be distributed. Equality, equity, and need are among the most common criteria. If equality is regarded as the ultimate criterion determining who gets what, goods will be distributed equally among all persons. In other words, each person will get the same amount. However, due to differences in the levels of need, this will not result in an equal outcome. Another possibility is to proceed according to a principle of equity and distribute benefits in proportion to the individual's contribution. Thus, those who make a greater productive contribution to their group deserve to receive more benefits. This sort of distribution is typically associated with an economic system where there is equal opportunity to compete. In competitive systems, wealth or goods might also be distributed according to effort or ability. Or we might distribute goods according to need so that an equal outcome results. Those who need more of a benefit or resource will receive more, as occurs when colleges offer need-based scholarships or states provide welfare payments to the poor. Some suggest a system of competition that includes safety nets for those who cannot compete. This sort of system combines the principle of equity with that of need. It attempts to reward people for their productivity at the same time that it ensures their basic needs are met. Finally, we might distribute resources according to social utility, or what is in the best interest of society as a whole. This is the argument that is frequently made by high-paid executives, who not only argue that they deserve their high salaries because of their contributions to their businesses, but they also argue that they are the job creators, thus paying them high benefits from the society as a whole. Others, however, think taxing them highly and using the income to provide services to the less fortunate would be of greater overall benefit to the society. Why distributive justice matters? According to the theory of relative deprivation, a sense of injustice is aroused when individuals come to believe that their outcome is not in balance with the outcomes received by people like them in similar situations. When people have a sense that they are at an unfair disadvantage relative to others, or that they have not received their fair share, they may wish to challenge the system that has given rise to this state of affairs. This is especially likely to happen if a person or group's fundamental needs are not being met, or if there are large discrepancies between the haves and the have-nots. This is particularly apparent in both Europe and the Middle East in 2013, but is also going on to a lesser extent and much less violently in the US, where the distribution of wealth is getting more and more unequal. In this SAR, an early theory of justice was set out by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato in his work, The Republic. Plato in The Republic treats justice as an overarching virtue of individuals and of societies, meaning that almost every issue he or we would regard as ethical comes in under the notion of justice. Equality of treatment. According to this view, similarly situated people should be treated equally. Equality of opportunity. Under this view, individuals should be given equal opportunity to succeed. People should not be discriminated against on grounds of class, caste, race, or gender. Equality of welfare. Under this view, advanced by people such as Marx, individuals should be given an equal degree of welfare as per his abilities and needs. Proportionality is a general principle in law which covers several special, although related concepts. Distributive justice concerns the nature of a socially just allocation of goods in a society. A society in which incidental inequalities in outcome do not arise would be considered a society guided by the principles of distributive justice. Various principles might determine of how goods are distributed. Equality, equity, and need are among the most common criteria. According to the theory of relative deprivation, a sense of injustice is aroused when individuals come to believe that their outcome is not in balance with the outcomes received by people like them in similar situations.